The Utah Jazz, poised to be one of the big sellers on the market, and a couple of big names, Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler, that could be on the move. We'll talk about what they could get in return. But first, Jason Kidd to the Knicks, it's just not dying. Brian Windhorst explained that there's interest between the two sides. We're going to take a look at that as well. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. Joining me, it's Donnie Freeman. Donnie, Jason Kidd to the Knicks. It seems like this just keeps going. The Mavs are not really completely extinguishing this thing. Makes me wonder if this is actually going to happen.
Yeah, where there's smoke, there is fire, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It could be. I don't know. Maybe they're really going to try to go for it. I guess it remains to be seen. It's more so surprising that they haven't really come out and just fully shut this all down, right? So, I don't know.
Well, Brian Windhorst had a little bit here on the Knicks and what they're trying to do, as well as the Mavs and what they can do in this interesting situation. Here we go.
Yeah, the way I would describe this is there's mutual intrigue on both sides. And also, I know there's this whole thing about asking for permission. You don't ask for permission to hire another team's coach. When you ask, you're going to hire them. So essentially, when the Knicks express interest, the ball will be in the Mavericks' court. And they have three options as I see it. One, they can just say, no, thank you very much. Jason, we'll see you in the fall. Look forward to the season. Look forward to Cooper Flag. They can try to make Jason Kidd have zero interest in the Knicks, possibly with the new contract. They did just give him an extension last year. Or they can negotiate a trade. And we have seen a handful of trades of coaches over the last 15 to 18 years, including Jason Kidd being traded from the Brooklyn Nets to the Milwaukee Bucks for 2 second-round picks 11 years ago. So it's not like Jason Kidd hasn't been in this situation before.
Okay, so the Knicks interested in Jason Kidd. The Mavs, he is their current sitting incumbent head coach. The Mavs have, according to Brian Windhorst, three options. When the Knicks come calling, essentially, if the Knicks call the Mavs and say, we're interested in hiring Jason Kidd, Windhorst is saying, that's it. The decision is already made if they make that phone call, being that they have already decided they want to hire Jason Kidd. This is not like, hey, can we interview him? This is if you've decided you want to hire him, you're going to be make that phone call. And then the Mavs can either just say, nope, he's under contract with us, which is fully within their right. They can do that. They could offer Kidd a new contract. Jason Kidd, Donnie, I was thinking about this. If you're Jason Kidd, I understand why the Mavs, it's a little strange they haven't squashed this. If you're Jason Kidd, there's no chance in hell you're squashing this. This is a great spot to be in because the only result is going to be positive for you. Look at Danny Hurley from last summer. Look at Jason Kidd himself from last summer. At worst, you're going to use this as leverage and get a fat new contract to stay exactly where you're at. Jason Kidd has got to be sitting pretty right now thinking, hey, this is phenomenal. Can I get another team too that's interested in me? Let's go.
Are you saying Dan Hurley used the Lakers last year?
Oh, 100%. He absolutely did. He played the Lakers. Everybody knows it.
Did Woj help him do it? Because, the ties there, he helped him do it. Get his name out there, out of thin air. I don't know where that came from. Hey,
Woj is probably saying, I'm on the way out anyway.
He wrote a book on Hurley, didn't he?
Why not?
Didn't he write a book on Hurley or something like that?
Yeah.
Was that it? Like, I don't know, man. That's all pretty suspicious. But speaking of coach trades, hopefully after this potentially goes through, we could call up Dallas and say, hey, JJ Redick, first round pick, make it happen.
You want to offload JJ Redick to the Mavs
for a first round pick this year? You know who that is. I'm taking it.
Oh, you want the number one overall pick for JJ Redick? You're going to have to put something in Nico Harrison's cup that's not just coffee this time, Donnie, to get that to happen.
I'm sure JJ would take the sacrifice. No, in all seriousness, yeah. Like I think it's interesting that like they haven't squashed it, but yeah, like you were saying, it's probably for the best if you're Kidd in this case overall. But realistically for me, I can see why he would maybe be interested in going, but I think probably it's just better to stay in Dallas. I think that with what they have, if he is able to put together a run here, even if he doesn't win, I think he has a good shot to position himself to be their coach for a while and be Cooper's coach for a while. I think that sustainability matters, right?
For sure.
I don't know. Like, if I'm him, I'm probably just staying in Dallas. And there's also perks to being in Dallas, but I think the East could be enticing as well. So
I think there's something to, though, Jason Kidd, and there's been some rumblings about this, about him maybe feeling a certain kind of way about essentially having to face the firing squad in the wake of the Luka trade. that he was the one who had to be kind of the front-facing man for the organization. And that's a difficult spot to be in. Although, to be fair, that's kind of the job for head coaches. And it's not going to get any better in New York because Leon Rose doesn't talk to anybody. So it's going to be Jason Kidd having to do that constantly. It's becoming more and more of a part of head coach's job. So I agree. I don't know that going to the Knicks, even if he does have ties with Jalen Brunson and all that, is actually better than the Dallas Mavericks. But again, if I'm Jason Kidd, I'm playing coy with this whole thing and saying, hey, maybe, once again, the Mavs gave me an extension last year when the Lakers reached it in me. Why not do it again? Maybe I can get another extension. We all know teams love to pay coaches to not coach for them. Why not extend the contract as long as you can? Who knows? Maybe you'll get paid for 4 years to sit on a beach too.
It's true. Coaches get these $5 deals, get fired a year in. They're just like, oh, an organization's going to do that 3 times in a row and pay all these guys to not coach.
5-year deals, yeah.
5-year deals.
Man. It could be worse. It could be worse. But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. If the Knicks indeed have zeroed in on Jason Kidd as their guy, do they make that phone call to the Mavs? And then what do the Mavs do? Do they just say nope, no thank you? Or does Jason Kidd use this as leverage to get an extension? Or do the Mavs say, you know what, J Kidd, if you don't really want to be here, we'll let you go. Maybe, I don't know if this is a bluff from Jason Kidd or not, but maybe the Mavs just say, hey, look, we want a coach who wants to be here. So if that's not you, head on over to New York.
I think that last part is very important, but I also wonder if the Mavs wind up losing their coach, what are they pivoting to? Because all of a sudden they find themselves in a search for a coach that they weren't expecting being in. Maybe they don't love the pool of guys out there. So
I know exactly who they pivot to.
Who? Mike Malone?
Tom Thibodeau.
Oh my God. Well, defense wins championships.
Defense wins championships.
There you go.
Frank Vogel as the assistant coach. Nico Harrison.
Oh, you're going all the way, huh?
Defense. All defense. Maybe trade for Marcus Smart too. Let's go.
Oh my God. Yeah, they would find themselves in a situation they weren't expecting to be in. They've got time to solve it, but maybe also before the draft, like you may have your roster in place where you got a coach.
And they don't even need a coach to have any input on.
To be fair, though, yeah, they know who they're getting.
They know who their pick is. They don't need to worry about that.
To be fair, you're right. Yeah. They don't need that.
Yep. In fact, I saw today they are working out one player. It's Cooper Flag. They're like, no, we're not even going to bother. We're not even going to bother working out anybody else for this pick. All right, we'll keep an eye on this Knicks Kidd situation and see what ultimately happens here and what the Mavs do. Could we actually see another coach trade, which has happened with Jason Kidd before, but it is a rare thing in the NBA. But I'll tell you what, this is going to be the summer of trades. Whether or not a coach is traded, we're going to see a lot of activity taking place around the NBA on the trade front. And one of the teams positioned to be a seller right now is a team that had bad luck in the lottery, and that was the Utah Jazz. This is Sarah Todd of the Deseret News, though, that raised some eyebrows with some of the names that Utah would consider trading. Now, she mentioned here John Collins, Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson. Zero surprises there. Veteran players, expiring contracts for the Jazz. It's move them now, or you could lose them for nothing next summer. So moving those guys makes tons of sense. Motivated seller on those 3 guys. But Walker Kessler, that's right, Lakers fans, Walker Kessler is someone they'll listen to on, and Lauri Markkanen as well. Expect conversations to include those guys. Donnie, I think part of it is it wasn't just the Jazz got fined last year for the shenanigans they pulled in order to tank and have the best lottery odds that they could. Now, it didn't get them anywhere. They wound up with the 5th pick in the draft, but they got fined last year. I think there were a number of players, including Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen, who probably didn't feel so great about the way the season went, probably didn't enjoy losing the way that they did. And if they are looking at another season of the same shenanigans, maybe these guys might want to move on to greener pastures. So I think this could significantly shake up the market if suddenly Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler are really, truly available.
Yeah, I think that there's some truth to that. It sounds like that could have been could be a factor for these guys. Nobody likes to basically just spend the entire year trying to lose games, putting out nonsensical lineups, making players sit. Nobody likes that.
Phantom injuries, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Like the players, they're not the ones that are doing that stuff. It's the coaches and the organization. But I wonder if karma really bit them, because they didn't get anywhere. They fell as low as they could fall.
As far as they possibly could.
They couldn't have fallen any lower than that based on their odds. And that happened to them. So yeah, maybe with them also, I believe that the new guy came in and he said, we're done with tanking, right? Like,
that was, Austin Ainge said they don't want to do that anymore. And that's probably music to the ears to Markkanen and Kessler, but it's still not, my God, look at the Western Conference. It's not like this team is going to go into next season expecting to make the playoffs.
Yeah. I think if they put those guys on the market, I think they could get back some good young talent on this team that they can play and still potentially lose games with, of course, because they're not going to be like, running the West like we were just saying. But I think they could get some guys here. I just think, with Lauri, it's a little bit trickier though, because he makes so much money and he's paid almost like your second option. And I don't think he's that. So you've got him on the books for a while, which is good and bad.
Yeah,
but,
what's his value, you think? Because like you said, he's on the books for a long time. And then look, now I know there was some phantom injury BS that they pulled last year, but look at the games played total. The most games he's played in a season was 68, and that was his rookie year. Next highest is 66. Only twice in the 8 years that he's been in the NBA would he play enough games to qualify for awards. That's 65 games. Only twice.
And one of them was his rookie year.
Yeah, that's not great.
Like I don't know. He's not really been a beacon of good health. So that is something I think you would be concerned about. But some of that is like the antics, of course. But that 1 year, a couple of years ago is what I think you look back to. 26 points per game.
He's great.
Most improved, all-star. He was really, really good that year. And obviously since then hasn't been able to hit the same peak, but he was also really good last year. So I don't know his overall value, but if you tell me that you're going to get him to give you 20 points per game, 6 rebounds, a couple assists, that would be good, but I just don't like it for my $46 million player. I saw a comment earlier that said that the NBA has a problem with salaries, because we've brought this up too, where there's too many guys making 25, 30 million, but then all of a sudden you've got the apron there. So what is the actual value of these guys? When we look at it in a number wise, it's like, oh, that's a lot. These guys don't deserve that much, but typically you want to look at percentage of the cap. But can you afford to have a guy like Lauri be your third most expensive player on your roster? Your entire roster is minimum guys after that. And that's just to a good team. What if he's your second best player? You're not winning if he's your second best player. Right.
That's the problem, right? Because you look at Lauri, you talk about percentage of the cap. He's making 30% of the cap this coming season. He's at $46 million. Now, the cap's going to go up. So then it goes to 27%, 26%, 26% for the remainder, but as to your point, though, if Lauri is your third best player, which he probably needs to be if you're going to contend, if he's your third best player, okay, that means your first and second best player, they're also taking up 25% of the cap, maybe 30% of the cap. Maybe if they've got 10 years of service or they are a Supermax eligible guy, we're talking 35% of the cap. You've got nothing left to fill out your roster under the cap. Now, obviously, teams can go over the cap using mid-level exception, biannual, taxpayer, all the exceptions. It's still a soft cap, even with the tier system in place and all of that. But with the aprons, but the point still stands. Like, it's more difficult now than ever before to build out a competitive roster if you have your third best player making 25 to 30% of the cap. And maybe that's what Lauri Markkanen falls in. Donnie, I think under the new CBA, that these are the guys that are going to get squeezed the most. Your guys that get max level money they have to be legit 1A or at worst 1B max level players. Otherwise, you have a hard time. It's why Brandon Ingram didn't have much of a market last year as well, because teams don't want to pay guys like that kind of money because they don't feel like they can build out a full team around them. So I don't know what Lauri's value is going to be. A couple of years ago, it would have been high, but now I don't know, Donnie. I don't know.
I think that contract is like, and he's just starting this extension, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got those implications for several years, and it gets better. Like you listed out, despite him making more and more money, the cap keeps going up, but that's still just a lot. And, he's pushing into his early 30s. he's in a weird spot. But I don't have nearly any of those same concerns for Kessler. I think Kessler will be a nice player for most teams to target. Supreme rim protector, good lob threat. Has a few other things he's flashing as well. Very soft touch around the basket. Like I think Kessler's somebody I'd invest in because he's going to also need a new contract.
He'll need an extension. Yeah.
If the market isn't crazy for him, like if he's not trying to get the Daniel Gafford starter level $30 million,
Well, I don't even think Gafford's going to try. No,
I don't think he's getting that either. But that's when you say starter money to me, that's what I hear. Like I hear 30 million.
People act like, well, Daniel Gafford, he's only making what? I think it's like 12 million, 13 million off the top of my head, but he's probably going to want 20. And it's not Gafford or whoever being crazy asking for that. Jakob Poeltl's getting 20.
That's just the market.
Nikola Vucevic is getting 20, right? These guys, that's normal in today's NBA as the cap keeps going up. So Gafford asking for 20 wouldn't necessarily be crazy, particularly if he really is a starter and that's the role. So if you're getting Walker Kessler, you'd better be ready to extend him for 20 plus. Maybe it wouldn't be crazy for him to ask for 25. And so I think if you're going to trade for Walker Kessler, you need to know what that number is. Does Walker Kessler have an outsized idea of exactly how much he should be getting? Is he good with getting a $20 million extension and then going from there? Where is that number at? And if you're comfortable with that, and I agree with you, I think he's an incredibly talented player. And if he's telling me it's going to cost 20 on the extension, I'm probably okay with that. Maybe the Utah Jazz aren't ready to give him that, but
even 25 is still like what 15% of the cap going forward. Like that's nothing crazy because John Collins is taking 26 and he's at 17. So like if you've got him on a 25 or so number, that I think that's actually better than it sounds going forward. It's just where is he going to be slotted on your team? He's going to be your third highest salary, fourth highest salary. I think that matters as well. But I think, I don't really have some of the same concerns with him. He's 4 years younger. He's more of a role player. I guess Lauri could be more of like a third star for you or a second star. I would target these guys. But I think with these two and with Collins potentially also being in the mix, I think the roster for them, it's in a lot of flux. They're in a position to really shake it up if they want to do that.
Now, Danny Ainge is known for driving a hard bargain. Austin Ainge, I'd imagine, is going to do the same thing. And so we could be talking about significant future draft capital. We could be talking about young players in order to move on.
Last year, there was no deal that was good enough for Kessler. Right?
There wasn't.
He was on the market until he wasn't.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and the deals were like.
Part of it was when he first came on the market, part of that was he wasn't happy that he wasn't starting. He played for Team USA and then was coming off the bench for the Jazz, and he wasn't super thrilled with that. And then he got a starting job and he played his way into things, and so the Jazz, their desire to move him waned. I think that's part of it. But yes, they're going to demand a high asking price for Walker Kessler. I would imagine they're going to have a high asking price for Lauri Markkanen too, because while they may listen on these guys, they don't have to move them. Conversely, Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, John Collins, those guys are going to be very available. Not saying it'll be fire sale prices, but it'll be much easier to get those guys because they don't have a long-term future in Utah. At least I don't believe they do. So those guys will be very gettable.
I don't trade Kessler from them. I think he's the type of big you want to get, develop, and keep.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's the type of guy that you're drafting to get. So I don't know why you would flip him. Like, I understand he's already 24. Maybe there's some concern about that, but that's still young enough to be a part of your timeline. Not everybody has to be 18, 19, right?
Sure.
And they've got to spend that money somewhere anyway. And if it's a reasonable number, like if I'm them, I'm not flipping Kessler. I think he could be a part of your next core. Assuming you don't draft another big this year, I think he could be a part of your next core. So
if I'm Utah, I agree with you. I'm not trading Kessler, but I'm listening. And there's enough teams out there that are needy for a big that maybe somebody will offer something crazy. And I think that's probably where the Jazz are at.
Yeah, that's fair. If that's the case, then if somebody's going to give you like 3 firsts, then I just take it. Last year, 2 firsts wasn't enough. So I don't know.
The Walker will drive you to the airport. That's where Danny Ainge would be at. All right, everybody. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think about Jason Kidd maybe winding up with the New York Knicks after all? How should the Mavs handle that situation? And the Utah Jazz listening on Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler. Maybe a little bit of a surprise there, but do you think the Jazz wind up being the big seller of the NBA summer? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget, subscribe right here to the channel. It's going to be a busy offseason around the NBA. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.